pressing right now. And it felt a bit weird to just go forward with that conversation rather than kind of adjust and, to what we're dealing with now, which is kind of bizarre and uncertain. And so, hopefully this session will be helpful for people, whether, I know there's some working artists here, resources for working artists and creative people, or if not, resources that you can share with friends, family, and just some other tidbits that might be helpful. Looks like we have one person joining us. So, I think we can start with just brief intros. Your name, where you're at currently. I know we're all kind of spread out, and then maybe why you joined this call, or what you're looking to learn or see in this session. I'll start. MONIKA introduced me. My name is Angie. I recently moved to New York February 1st, which was not ideal timing. But I'm originally from Texas. That's where I am right now, staying with some family, kind of, writing this out until kind of the worst of it subsides in New York. For me, what I'm hoping to get out of this session or provide is, just a few touch points for resources that might be beneficial for us right now. The creative class has been hit particularly hard during this time, and so, providing a few resources that maybe you haven't heard about. And if not that, then at least, a little bit of sense of community and chatting together for a bit. So, we can do, people can jump in, introduce themselves. Again, with doing this over Zoom, we may have some, technical things we'll work through, but we'll do our best. So, who wants to jump in?
Brian, you wanna introduce yourself?
I'm Brian. I joined. Oh, there's a lot of racket. Waiting for that.
Yeah, maybe. There we go.
I joined because Angie graduated from my institution a couple of years ago. I teach drawing and ceramics, and I'm the graduate advisor at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. And it was an interesting topic because as an artist, I am finding that certainly my plans for the summer and probably plans into the year are canceled or displaced. I think my immediate concerns are making sure that my students and junior faculty are fully supported by my institution. So that I would say that most of my work in the past 3 weeks has been administrative, either in terms of adjusting present and future coursework, and very much working with middle and upper management of the institution to make sure that student and faculty concerns are addressed. That's where I am at.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Pim? Yeah?
Mute myself. Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. So yeah, I'm Pim. I'm part of open source too. I'm not an artist. I have a tour company and I'm in the travel industry. So for me also, like, everything turned to zero like weeks ago. And but I have artist friends, and I'm always interested in this discussion, and so I can maybe inform them and to be part of this.
Michelle, you wanna? Yeah, I got you.
Sorry. Hi guys, sorry. I'm Michelle. I'm currently sitting here in Brooklyn. The thing is, there's so much going on. There's so many changes. It's all happening so fast, and there's all different kinds of information. The information keeps changing, so I think it's really valuable to have a space like this to be able to like, whoa, stop and listen and, hear from someone who, knows, who's been like paying attention and can sort of filter this information for us. And also to, have this community to be able to like sort of bounce ideas off of each other. I mean, I can't tell you how valuable that is. I'm a curator, so obviously I work with a lot of artists and galleries, and so I've seen so many interesting and creative ways that people have dealt with this, and I'm inspired by it, absolutely. I don't know. I mean, these are crazy times. These are interesting times, and I'm here for it. I'm here for your information. I'm here to, hear what you and everyone else has to say. That's it. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Miho.
Hey, Mio. Where are you?
I'm in Brooklyn, of course. Thank you so much for offering this session. Yes, I've been reading so much news every day here and there. It's too much information, and I just couldn't sleep. My boss said, stop reading everything. But I didn't have to inform all the time. I'm just obsessed with it. So art is more, not primary, it's a secondary. Every news is more important for me right now. But at the same time, we are supposed to have a little small show in the community base. Me and other artists are talking about it. And what we are working on, of course, the show didn't happen. It's postponed. And since we have already artwork to start with, everything but swimming pool and water, so I decided to do some kind of curating show with a exit corps by email and sending all the video, because we have a performers, comedian, artists, writers, not just visual artists. So I'm just trying to get together those people to have a one-piece project. The people doing dancers, doing theater, actors doing it, or the exit corps. MONIKA and I had done it years ago, if you remember, with video, with Joy. I don't know if you remember.
I know what that, oh God, that's so many years ago.
I done with paintings, 2D work too. Like I had done 3 shows. So I am trying to like encourage and people into it, but non-artists were still confused. And I just try to like maybe organize better way for everybody enjoy at the same time, not the chaos, not like overwhelmed work for me, because I have a other job too. But so I was interested in to discuss with you guys how you guys doing, advice. So hi, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Anya.
Hi.
Hey. So yeah, I'm MONIKA. I'm out in Long Island now. I kind of like escaped the city for a little while. Gonna go back soon. And I have been actually dealing more with the gallery itself on how we can save that, and not as much with what is out there for artists individually. So I find that like really helpful for me now.
Mm-hmm.
Anya, you wanna say something, or you wanna just be there?
I just be there for a second.
Okay.
I
That's totally fine.
I thought it was
Totally fine. Yeah.
On the spot, she just joined. Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much for joining. I'm happy we can, spend this time together, even if it's virtually. And I hope we can, cover some of the points you mentioned, and that this will serve as a useful resource guide for you or friends, family, colleagues that you can share this information with. So I think we'll just jump right into it. It's a holiday, so we'll get you the information, and then we can discuss as long or short as each of you wants, but we'll get right to it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a presentation. And all right. Okay. Can everybody see the slides? Great. Okay. Here we go. So yeah, I don't want to focus too much on me or what I'm doing, but I did want to give you a little background on who I am, so you're like, you know who this person is who's giving you this information. So I, again, my name is Angie Reisch. I recently moved to New York, but I'm originally from Texas. So right now, you know, although I'm back in Texas for the time being, kind of riding out the worst of this in New York, that is where I'm based currently. I work mainly with video and installation, but I do a lot of drawing as well and some cultural organizing and publishing. So because of that, you know, community is an important part of what I do. So that's kind of in part why I felt like this was so important to do, because I think we have to rely on each other during in our communities right now, during times of crisis and just weirdness, and share resources and be open in making that as accessible to people as we can. So I hope it's helpful, and if nothing else, you know, we'll find some comfort in getting to chat with each other. So this is just kind of an outline of what I'll be covering. We already checked off number 1. So I'll be going over some kind of basic resource information that you may already know well, but I figured it was important to cover just as kind of a starting point for going into some of the more art-specific resources. So now I'll go over some national and state resources, city resources, and then a few kind of extra resources and tools. Then at the end, we'll have time for discussion, question, comments, and then if there's any resources that you would like to share with the group that I maybe don't cover, we'll have some time for that as well. So basic info, as we're, you know, talking about the national level, we should mention the stimulus bill. I did want to mention this because I was talking with some artist friends the other day, and they hadn't heard that they'd be getting a $1,200 check, or if they had, there was a lot of confusion and misinformation on you know, how and when and the details of all of that. So this is just a brief overview. Essentially, if you made less than $75,000 last year and filed your taxes with the IRS in 2018 or 2019, then you will be getting a $1,200 check. When you filed, if you set up direct deposit for your refund, your stimulus check should automatically appear in your account. There's nothing you need to do. You don't need to apply for this. It's an automatic process if you filed your taxes. If you did not do direct deposit, then your check will be mailed to you. There's been some different information on when exactly those will arrive, but you can stay up to date with updates with that link at the bottom. It has way more specific information than I am qualified to go into, so they have a great FAQ section, so it's a good thing to reference. Okay, another just important point to note, because I know, you know, many people are dealing with this in New York and, you know, elsewhere. But just a note about New York State filing for unemployment. They've waived the 7-day waiting period for people out of work. And if you are self-employed, which many artists are, you can now file for unemployment online, which is a new component. So the New York Department of Labor has a super detailed step-by-step guide to help you. I know this stuff is frustrating. You'll probably have to wait and deal with a lot of back and forth, but it's definitely an important resource for people who have found themselves without their job right now. Okay, so jumping into more specific arts-related resources. This is just an overview of some national and state resources that are available explicitly to aid artists during this time. So there's a lot of different lists online and different, resource references. So this is by no means comprehensive. It's just a place to start looking. I've noticed some places are no longer taking in applications since there's been such a demand, but I made sure all the ones on this list are currently active and taking applications. So just keep in mind that that could change, but as of right now, these are active. So with these resource overviews, I'm not going to go through each line item because you can do that yourselves and see if one or more of these is more relevant to you and your situation. I think it's important to note, though, that there are so many different resources out there for really like kind of specific niche things. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. I do want to note as well, I shared a PDF of this presentation in the chat box. So if you're scrambling to write notes right now, don't worry, all of this is in that document with the links and everything. So you'll have access to this, and please feel free to share it with anyone you think it might be useful for. So these are just additional national and state resources continued. Another note for some of these resources, the range is very wide. So there's some starting, I think, as low as $200 and then up to several $1,000s. So, and again, they can get very specific, but there are many out there. There's lots of lists as well that have additional resources if these are not perhaps relevant to what you're doing or your situation. So I did want to pull out a couple of these resources just to highlight. This one in particular, Artist Relief, you may have heard of it. It's I feel like it's been all over the news, but it's a recent relief effort that has come about as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. So their purpose is to support artists during the COVID-19 crisis. It is created by a coalition of national arts grant makers. They made this emergency initiative to offer financial and informational resources to artists across the US. So those, just so you have some background info on this, that coalition is comprised of the Academy of American Poets, Artadia, Creative Capital, Foundation for Contemporary Arts, MAP Fund, National Young Arts Foundation, and United States Artists. So they started with $10 million in funding and will continue fundraising through September 2020, just to give you the kind of timeline context. Grants are available to professional artists living in all 50 states, US territories, and tribal nations. Artists working in any discipline are eligible to apply so long as they can demonstrate financial need. And then on this slide, there's some of the more specific eligibility points. Grantees will be selected weekly and funds will be dispersed, in their words, within a fortnight once selections for that week are made. Certain weeks will be dedicated to granting to artists practicing certain disciplines. So this is something that is like on a rolling basis that you can check in with regularly. I would highly recommend looking at this site. One other point that I wanted to mention with this site in particular and any other kind of applications that you might be doing, they noted on their website that they're receiving a high volume of submissions. And so on occasion, their site has been crashing, the application has been crashing. Stick with it. If you can't get through the first time, keep trying. They have also recommended, which I think is good, just best practice for any of these applications, that save your answers in a Word document, and then when you're ready to submit, just copy and paste, so that if that does happen, which has been happening quite often with a lot of these submission portals, just because so many people are applying for these things, just, yeah, be sure to save it so you don't run into that. Okay, the other big one I wanted to highlight is through Kickstarter. This is not necessarily a granting opportunity, but they have developed this live archive of resources for artists. So it's incredibly easy to navigate and use. They have different resources in all of these different categories. So, you know, financial resources, short-term and long-term, but also things like links to legal aid, medical resources, and also things just to pass the time. So it's a great resource. It's a live archive, meaning that it is continually updated as information changes and more opportunities become available. So I would highly recommend having this and checking in regularly. Okay, so these are more resources specifically at the city level for New York. I know not everyone is in New York right now, but there's a good number of us, so I think it's worth mentioning some of these. I would check in particular the NYFA emergency grants list. That is also a resource that they are continually updating that list of different grants that are available to artists in the New York City area. Another one which I have used quite a bit is through the Creative Capital website. I did notice some of the resources they have listed. I don't know how continually they're updating it, but some of them were not active anymore, or they had closed their submissions. So just keep that in mind, but the Creative Capital site is also a good resource. All right, so lastly, these are just some other resources and tools that I have come across or other artist friends have shared with me. They're not necessarily grant related, but I think they're still important. So this first one, Freelance Artist Resources, is basically just a website listing you know, helpful tools and resources for artists who are working freelance. So there's a wide range of resources that is not limited to just visual artists. It's, you know, relevant to all different kinds of artists. This second point, financial justice calls for nonprofits, I think it's a small thing, but it's actually quite valuable and important. They are offering a complimentary call to artists to explore, to basically talk through their financial concerns and get some financial guidance on how to get through this and to have some planning resources. This next one is a live Google Doc that is being continually updated by community members, basically listing employers that are remote and remote friendly. So for people who have perhaps lost work or they can't go into work due to social distancing or quarantining, these are employers that are looking for people and are able to work remotely. So it's a community just live document that's being updated that has some great resources. After that, guidelines for postponement or cancellation of work. This is produced by Wage. And basically it's a guide for artists, cultural workers for how to navigate postponing or canceling work or projects in an ethical way, and how to kind of plan for the future. So also a good resource. The next one is kind of a step-by-step guide for self-employed artists and small businesses and how they can apply for financial aid. And then the last point has 2 separate links that just give general tips and guidelines for navigating freelance work right now, which can be rather stressful. So things like, what kind of work can you be doing now that will position you or prepare you to be in a good spot when we come out of this. So that is what I've got. I know that's a lot of info, but again, that presentation is available. Let's see, available in the chat. And then, if you have any questions, I'm happy to help with that, and with any follow-up information.
Hey, Angie, that was awesome. I have a question, and also I don't see the link in the chat.
Okay.
Does everyone else, am I the only one? I don't know.
Yeah, Brian.
It's in there? Oh, I don't see it. Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, someone else also doesn't see
All
it.
right, let me send it again. I'll be sure to get it to
Okay.
you.
So that was like a lot of information. So that's why I'm asking for the link, because It was great. So I'm so super appreciated. I'm wondering how you went about your research. How did you, was it just like things that you already, like resources that you were already aware of? I mean, obviously, like everyone, I'm sure you Googled, but is there anything, like if someone, like moving forward, because I think the way that I'm feeling is that information is constantly being updated and changing and moving quicker than, usual. That's how I feel. I'm wondering if there's if you can also give advice on like how to like maintain this kind of research.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why kind of one of the main reasons we wanted to do this, because there are so many resources out there that it is pretty overwhelming, and the information is changing daily. So in terms of how I went about my research, I kind of like I mentioned, just keeping tabs on mainly that Kickstarter page is great. The NYFA page, and then the Creative Capital page. So I think what is really helpful right now, and I'm in a few different like artist Facebook groups, so it's kind of pulling from different different channels, but yeah, I think the good thing is to try and keep tabs on those live documents. So ones that are, they've specifically noted, like they're being updated every day at 2 p.m., you know, that have that kind of regular update. And then, yeah, I think those institutions in particular are kind of on top of it, and they may not have every last little like small kind of random fund or grant, but I think in terms of just like keeping a finger on the pulse, like that's a good place to start. Oh, I think you might be muted.
Sorry. That's super helpful. Thank you. But I'm wondering if there was one, or what organizations do you feel like, oh yeah, they're on top of this, you know, or they really rose to the challenge of, you know, supporting artists? Is there one that you know, or a few that you think?
Well, I would say that Artist Relief Coalition that has been formed, NYC Creative Capital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, do you want to say something? Or was it just about the document?
Well, it was about my experience with Zoom. If you want to, I find that if you want to share anything in the chat, participants only see what has been shared since they joined the meeting. So if you had shared it prior to anyone joining the meeting, we would not see the document. Just a comment.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Yeah.
I didn't
So
know.
everyone can see the Google Drive link.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody from the Artist Relief Fund, for example, that actually already got it?
I don't personally.
Because I know of that one actually also from the beginning on. That's something that came out really early, right?
Yeah,
but I'm just wondering if there is already, like, you know.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it. I don't remember. I think they've listed who they have granted to so far. I can't recall any of the organizations or people off the top of my head. It's pretty, their website is very like basic and easy to, it's just like the essentials. So it's, would be easy to find that info.
Or any other, because, you know, for the organizations, we are very, you know, we applied for everything. We kind of like check in with everybody else, how the money comes in, you know, is it working? Is that, what are the updates? But I really haven't actually had the chance to talk to enough artists to see what really works best, or which one of them are only online applications that are there and look good, or which ones are really the ones that are fast and helpful.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a good next step too, and that will hopefully see more of that info come out. As I mean, the longer we deal with this, I think a lot of people are perhaps running into the issue of the same issue of people filing for unemployment, of like the system is so saturated right now that it's I would recommend starting with, you know, local opportunities that are available. I think that's you probably have a better chance of getting through with that, especially if the grantor or funder, you know, has a relationship to your organization, and then kind of moving up to those bigger ones.
I actually, I think, Anja, didn't you get something already from like a previous grantor that you just...
I got the IWMF, and I got it very quickly, but I believe it's because 3 years ago I, you know, got a grant from them. So I think that helped probably to speed up my application. So that was really helpful, that grant. And I haven't received it yet, but I mean, like they said that I was going to get the money. And then I received another small that was as well for photojournalists, for women. This was just a small grant for like $250. And that as well was immediately sent to me.
That's great.
Yeah. And other things, certain things you apply for and you just don't get them because, I mean, there's so many people applying. So, of course.
Right. You found that going for the smaller, more local ones, it was pretty immediate for you.
Well, I mean, the IWMF is not so small, but I mean, it's so that was, well, I think I do believe it was relatively quick because in the email they sent back, because you have been a grantee before, so that they probably didn't need to check, my work so much. That's just what I took out of that. Mm-hmm. And the other grant, unfortunately, I've forgotten the name. That was very small, but they were very quickly closed. I mean, very often certain grants, you see them, you are able to apply for them, and then the next day they are already closed.
Right.
Because I wanted to share with the open source community, some of these grants, but when I went back, before I was sharing, they were all already closed.
Yeah. Mm. Has anybody else any additional thoughts or resources that have been helpful for you or your organizations?
I mean, I think it's early days, that's my sense, and my concern too is, I mean, it's interesting. Everything you said, Anya, was really helpful and interesting, and made me think, well, maybe an approach is, first go for the local, the ones that are as specific to you, and your work as possible, and also ones you have existing relationships with. Yeah, then that's valuable. That's really valuable. But I'm also, because and I think it's the reason why I asked you which resources you thought were like the ones that had the most juice, because I'm concerned about, like, there's a finite amount of money, and also with some of these or people that are coming together sort of quickly, like they might not be organized, like if you get your money, even if you get the grant from an organization that's quickly formed, maybe you don't get it for 2 years. You know what I mean? So there's sort of those concerns too. So it's just early days. It's going to be hard to,
I applied. There was one grant which I knew of, like almost like a week prior before it even opened, and that was visual female artist over 40. And it opened on a Monday morning, and it opened at 10 a.m. And I sat down. That was the first time I could actually read through the questions, right? And I worked from it, and like an hour later, that grant was closed. And so many people were in the middle of working on this, and they had $250,000. And within 1 hour, they had 8 times the applications they had money for. And so, I mean, it was great that they closed, because otherwise, but so many people were stuck, and they were working on the application and tried to, and I just saw for a lot of the photographers who I know on Facebook, they were like, what happened? I worked for 4 hours on this, and then I wanted to admit it. That thing was already closed for 3 hours. So this is how, how quickly it sometimes can go. So like,
I really think that's a big thing now. We have to be very fast with this, because and all artists, that's why we have to tell our artists to really move on it, because I think that's crazy. Also, as an organization, when you're not fast enough, you don't get the money. It's all about, it's not so much about looking into, for them anymore, to look into what is good and what is bad the way it's usually done. It's more about who is first. And I think that's something that we have to kind of just learn. Don't be so precise maybe with your application, just kind of like get it in as fast as you can, because I think that's what they're really looking at. They don't have the time right now to actually really look through it in the manner they used to.
Yeah, and it is frustrating to let's see.
I think I muted. Do you think I'm confused? Do you think they closed because more application, or maybe they selected artists already and giving money away? I'm confused. How quick the selection is? Like whoever applied, get it first, like 10 or 20?
I think they just don't have the manpower or the woman power to read through like that many applications. They just close it because they're like, you know, if we get like 100,000 applications for $250,000, we don't,
Right.
you know, we don't have that. We can't, you know, so they close it.
So close means they didn't give any money to any artist.
No, they
No,
gave,
they closed the application process. So basically, if you have $250,000 to give away to artists, but you are getting in 100,000 applications, then you know that you can't give even more. So you better close your application process and first give out the $250,000 you have before you make another 100,000 artists apply for it, and you know already you don't have it.
Okay, but they do, right?
have
They,
a limit on the amount of applications they can take. So, you know, if they have enough money to, you know, to give to 200 artists, they might have, you know, they probably established before, okay, after 1,000 applications, we're not taking any more, because like MONIKA said, it's like then it becomes just a logistics and labor issue. They don't have enough people to do that amount of work.
I got it.
So it is kind of a timing issue, and staying on top of it, which is, yeah, I think why those live or living documents are so important. Getting that, like, you know, hourly feedback or updates from people who are also applying for these things. Hey, this is closed, or this is, you know, because it is kind of, it's frustrating, you know, it's not easy, and it's changing every day. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
It's really, personally, it's really psychologically confusing too, because most artists, you know, in New York, they cannot survive being just artists. They have a part-time job, day job, anything, freelance job too, of course. I mean, luckily I still have some job. It's not the best, great, but still have some money coming in. And I need to apply those grants, but also at the same time, there's so many other people who are suffering much more, like losing place to live. And personally, I think those people need to get more money first than somebody who, you know, still have a living place. And just, it's, and then if you wait, and then of course it's all gone, it's just psychological struggling. I mean, and then also people dying. It's not easy time to think about myself, about money and that, yeah.
No, and that is definitely a consideration, right? And it is very personal of what you, you know, what you need or are comfortable with, or what you feel is appropriate for you. But yeah, it is a.
I should do it. Just like it's so hard reading news and this and back, and I just feel it's, you know, tough.
It's a lot.
I agree that Miho, that people who are suffering more should get the money first, but that isn't the model that the leadership is providing. You know, people who earn less than $75,000 get a one-time payment of $1,200. Other countries, people are getting monthly payments in excess of that. Meanwhile, a large portion of the relief fund is going to corporations that already have a lot of money. So unfortunately, that's not the model. Great if we could reverse that, but I think that folks are going to follow models that are provided, and it's hard to. I believe it's hard to reverse that psychology.
Very much agree with that. I think that I mean, we have to be more aggressive than they are in other countries, you know, especially as artists, I think, because it's also, I mean, I think it's also something that it's gonna be super important now to have creative thinkers to actually move us through this. So I feel like, you know, it's really something we all have to be also actively involved in. And I do think that, you know, like there is also a lot of small foundations that wanna help, but they can't really send out, you know, bigger application processes or do these things that maybe some bigger foundations do. But you know, like if you make yourself heard what you're doing or what you want to do or what your plans are, I think there is maybe more 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 ways to also get seen. So I think social media right now maybe is also a good way to kind of like, I don't know, be active. I don't know.
Well, when I talk about this organizing some project, even non-artists, people seems like really lifted, excited about it, doing something together. Not just like talking Zoom, but making actual something. Intangible or tangible, even on the internet. I think that will also give a spirit to people too. Just something. It's not about object or material or anything, but I think that helps too psychologically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a huge piece of this that we're talking more about the financial part, but that is a huge piece of that. It's a resource, right? Like that, and that's an important thing to not leave behind right now.
I was really upset about talking to gallery owner because those gallery people have to depend on online market right now because all the galleries closed. And I forgot the name of it. Where's the Daniel Kate's gallery? They use art. I'm sorry to blank the name, but they used to pay like $300 every month for the online business. And then they just increased it to $600 right after coronavirus happened. Like a double the price. That is just disgusting to me. I mean, they should be giving all free, like something that maybe we should come up some place that artists can present without paying some fees. Because something that maybe like open source or non-profit, like just doing something like, slideshow, shows, something, I don't know, but I was really upset this business is just like reusing it to make more profit. Yeah. Yeah.
We are actually now doing this. We're doing two things. We are doing like asking a lot of artists that have worked with us. Actually, which is me or two. And I'm gonna send you these questions actually right after. We are doing interviews with artists that we have previously worked with, and it's really interesting because they're all over the world and what they're working on right now. And we are also doing this thing that's called Soup Kitchen, the virtual Soup Kitchen, where we ask artists to actually over dinner on Zoom to kind of share what they're working on right now, and host a Zoom Soup Kitchen, like just to kind of keep also the spirit of and also the community going.
It's great.
I like that.
Any final thoughts, comments?
No, thank you so much. It was a lot of information. I have to go through it because I was just overwhelmed. I couldn't even get to the pop-up. So now it really gives me a lot of motivation.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm glad it was helpful. And please use that document. And,
And Angie, you're okay with us sharing it? Because I feel like I know so many people that aren't on this Zoom call that would, super benefit. So is it okay? Share the document?
This is all about access, right? This is all public info, and it's please feel free to share it with anybody that you think would be useful for.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I know I spent so much time to research all this, going through this.
Thank you so much, Angie.
I was turning it down,
I think Ryan has a question.
Yes.
Or a comment.
Yes. What I would like to read more, I'm probably like everyone, we're filtering through so many different kinds of things, and for me, 90% of it is not useful, and that has to do a lot, in my case, with teaching online, questions of resources. Another area where I haven't really had time yet to even begin to filter, and would like if folks know now or later, are different kinds of articulations of, or reminders, they may be historical, they may be current, of the value of culture in these kinds of times. I mean, we hear, and I fully accept that everyone from people who deliver groceries, to people who install internet, to people who drive buses, and all of the healthcare providers are doing essential work, and plumbers, and all these people are doing essential work, and I agree with that. But I am concerned, say, that artists or even the sense of the value of culture could be neglected. So I'm looking for articulate thinkers on that question, so that in terms of my teaching, in terms of artists supporting each other. So that's an area that.
Okay. I have a thought. I mean, I'm not an articulate. I'm not the articulate resource you're looking for, but the first thing that comes to mind is WPA. You know, I think that the art, you know, that's where the government employed artists, and it gave both artists, you know, the financial support, but it also gave us, America, amazing artists that we would not have heard of, and amazing murals and public art. And I mean, for me, that's the first thing that comes to mind. You know what I'm obviously, you know what I'm talking about. Does that make sense to
Oh, I
you,
think
Brian?
That's an excellent example. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't really think of too many more, you know, there's not that many examples. I mean, it really comes from leadership, you know, getting back to what you were saying, Brian, about leadership, because the WPA came out of the government, came out of the people who were leading the government at the time.
Yeah, I was reading a bit about, you know, part of this huge $2 trillion stimulus package of, I forget exactly what percentage went to, you know, the NEA, the National Humanities, and it was something like 25 million. I don't remember the number exactly, but I think a part of that too is, yeah, coming from government leadership of like that speaks of a certain value, but also that on the more you know, personal, person-to-person level of how we can do that in our own communities. Yeah, it's something I'm going to be thinking about, and I'll certainly send you anything if I come across it.
This is a great discussion. I wish, MONIKA, maybe like Angie, if we can continue again, because again, every day is changing, and we have so many information coming out every single day. I learned so much today. I'm really thankful. But if we can continue, that'd be great. Yeah. And then maybe come up some new ideas, you know, anytime we talk.
I can definitely start you know, and like I can start also, I can connect us with email if that's
a good idea. Yeah.
Something you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. I have many friends also. I'm organizing, you know, some kind of fun show. But we have many art teachers too, and we talk about issue too. So maybe like, you know, I can invite them next time, and Brian can talk about and discuss with, because they have come up with all different ideas too. And my friend was also a teacher giving like his studio tour. Now he cannot go to office, school. He's painting, of course, and he's giving his student how to set up the studio space, how he does practice. And as a teacher, and they want to see his studio. That I think is really inspiring too. And I was able to see his, I've seen it before, but it was nice that he talks about brush and how easel and how set up. And that was a nice idea to share something with students.
It's great, thank you. Okay, any last thoughts, MONIKA?
No, I just also wanted to really thank you. I thought that was really, 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 really helpful and very informative, very well researched. And I think, I mean, I'm just going to also share this with the, and Pim, right? We are going to share this on social media, the presentation, and
Great.
try to get the word out more so that, you know, and actually, I mean, I really do believe in what we were saying, that it is important as artists, I feel like, to keep up with it, and keep up with actually also asking for money. I think that's part of like actually doing our job, is also being, you know, proactive in making sure that we are heard in a way.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thank you, everybody. And I hope this was helpful. And yeah, maybe we can find a way to follow up or continue the conversation as things change. And again, feel free to reach out. MONIKA has my contact information if you want to get in touch. And yeah, stay safe and healthy. And hopefully we can do this actually next to each other at some point. So
Right. Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good Easter, I guess.
You too. Have a nice
Thank you, guys. Bye.